Hey guys, welcome back to my Flux plugin tutorial, how to use the Flux plugin that I made in Unreal Engine 4. In the last tutorial we set up some fish and we have some pretty realistic looking movement now. We've got them coloured nicely, we've got them not leaving the level bounds and reacting to flea and gull volumes. So the only problem that we had was they were kind of static looking, they didn't have animation on them, and it would be nice to have something like this. Some nice birds flapping their wings. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can set this up, and you can actually do this with any skeletal mesh that you want. You can only play a single animation, so something that loops and is short usually looks pretty nice. But because of the way that this is built, we can actually run, we're running 20,000 of these in editor, and it's running pretty well. So you can get some quite nice effects. We could have, flocks of crows or ravens. I think these are ravens. And yeah, I'll show you how to set that up now. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this level here, and I'm just going to call it underscore animation. In here, I might just, we'll just leave this stuff in here. So the first thing that we need to do is set up our animation mesh. To do that, we can go to any skeletal mesh. There is currently one in the Flux plugin that I'm just going to use here as an example. So if you go to the animation tab, you'll see up the top you get two extra buttons. One's called Make That Mesh, the other one's called Make That Animation. So this is using vertex animated textures to animate static meshes, which sounds a bit strange, but it lets us run a lot of them at the same time, and it also allows us to instance them, which is why we were able to run so many. So to make this work, the first thing that we need to do is make a vat mesh. This will open up this window, and it'll just ask us where we want to put it. I'm just going to call it Raven Animated. Chuck it in the animation folder here. Now you'll see that this output, a static mesh. There is nothing animated about this at the moment. However, this static mesh is formatted in such a way that we can play animation on it. So you can't just use a static mesh and play animation on it. You actually need to build it from the plugin from a skeletal animation to be able to play an animation on it. Coming back to here, the next step is to make our vat animation. So that'll turn our current animation into a vertex animation. I'm just going to call it flap loop demo, and that will do its thing, and this will output two different textures. So these look kind of scary. This is just data from the animation baked into a texture, and what we're going to do is we're just going to read this in a material. It's definitely not as scary as it looks using the plugin and the features that it has. So if we chuck this in the scene, you can see that it's not animated. To make this animated, all we need to do is create new material. Let's call it m underscore flap underscore loop demo. Now, in this material, we need to bring in our textures. So we need to bring in these two textures over here. So we'll bring in flap loop demo pos, and we'll add another node. We'll bring in flap loop demo normal. So that's our position in normal textures. Now, the next thing we need to do is add a material function call and pass in material function flux vat. If we add this, you'll see it conveniently takes a position and a normal texture. So we'll grab our, is this position? Yep. Grab our position, put that in there, grab our normal, put that in there. Now this actually lets you control, the rate scale, how fast the animation is playing, the frame rate of the animation. You need to make sure this is set correctly. It defaults to, I think it's 30. It doesn't matter. You can find it. If it doesn't look right, you might have some frame rate animation that you need to set. For most cases, this shouldn't have to be touched. You've got instance random to change the offset of the animation. So by default, all of our birds are gonna have random animation timing. So we could set this to 0 and they would all start at the same time, but we want them random in this case. And then finally we have a normal map sample, which I'll actually add a texture sample, and I'll chuck in our Raven's normal map so it looks a little bit nicer. Now you'll see that this actually takes a world space normal map, whereas most normal maps in existence are in tangent space. So most of the time, unless you know that your normal map is in world space, you'll need to run through a transform. And you'll need to transform it from tangent space into world space before putting it in. And that's that. That's all you need to do. We just need to hook up our normal and our world position offset. I might make this look a little bit nicer by doing a texture sample and passing in our Raven diffuse here to the base color. And then the only other thing that we need to do is click on here and scroll down until you find used with instant static meshes. This needs to be ticked for all materials that you apply to flocks. Otherwise it'll show you an error saying that you need to tick that. And the other thing that we need to do is search for tangent space normal, and you need to turn this off because flocks requires it to be in world space. We save that. You can see our materials jumping around here. It wants to be animated on a static mesh very badly. Just wait for this compile to finish. Right, so now we can just grab this and we can just drag this on here, and you can see we have our static mesh being animated via a material, and this allows us to instance them and run loads and loads and loads of them at once. So let's go and delete this, and we'll drag in our new special mesh here, and we'll drag in our material. I'll just turn off cast shadows for this, and I'll remove the second mesh as well, because we don't really want that in here. Cool. So in this, I might see these values all look pretty good. We probably want to check prefer non-vertical movement. Now that we're doing birds, we don't really want them flying up and down too much. Might just turn this up a bit. I'm not sure how it'll look, but we'll see. And some of my lighting looks a little bit weird in here. I might just quickly build the lighting to this level as well. Yeah, that looks better. So if we press play now, you'll see all of our birds are flying sideways, which isn't ideal. So, if you remember in the first tutorial I mentioned this custom pivot, and that skeletal mesh is often rotated wrong by 90 degrees for some reason. What we can do is offset our mesh by 90 degrees. Now they should all be flying forward. You can see they're flapping their wings, they're acting like regular flocks, like our fish, except they're all animated, and they look very much like birds. You know, this looks like something that you could make a horror movie out of very easily. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover for flocks. Hope you like this tutorial series. If you have any specific questions about how to use the plugin, or if you find any problems with it, I'm always ready to fix them. So you can find my support email on the store page, and feel free to send any questions my way, and thanks for watching. Good luck with your projects, and yeah, thank you for using my plugin. It really means a lot and helps me develop more stuff like this in the future. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the future.